This is Kilo, and some of you guys watched my video number 71 on how to attack spool pins and defiant locks. I made that video as here in the States, a lot of apprentices getting started are worried about coming across, their first lockout calls. And many times, and I think this applies to all states, defiant is probably more common than quickset at this point here in the US. At least in all the cities I've worked in here in California, as well as I am friends with locksmiths in different states, and they've told me, pretty much the same thing, that it seems like they come across defiant more and more, where it used to be quickset. So I made that video as that's really one to expect now, as defiant is sold at pretty much every hardware store and box store across the country here now. And some of you guys asked, maybe the rake and hook method that I show in that video only works because there's one or two spool pins. What if, you put 5 spool pins in your defiant? Would that make a difference? So we're going to go ahead and I'm going to use the same tools from the first video and see if I can use the rake and hook method to rake this defiant with 5 spool pins into a false set, and then find the binding pin and see if we can just pick them open. So we're going to go ahead and put our bottom of the keyway Z wrench just like the first video, and I'm going to angle this so I can try and pick it a little easier. And we're going to go ahead and just try and pick into a false set. So I think that actually fell into a false set. So we're going to go ahead and see if we can't just pick, let's see, and he's open. So just as quick as 1 or 2 spool pins, we've picked this one with 5. So, just to show you guys, I'll go ahead and gut this for you. That way I can show you what's inside. So let me set this down. I'm going to move the vise here, and I'm going to aim the camera down a bit right here. So let's go ahead here, and he's already picked over, so let me grab a plug follower that'll fit and move him aside. So I'm just going to let all of these pretty much just fall at this point right into here. And let's see what we got here. So we've got our 5 springs, 3, 4, and 5. And we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 spool pins here. Sorry about that, there was a phone call coming in. So one of the reasons that they don't put all spool pins in the lock from factory is because it can open you up to, more destructive methods. So it becomes a liability, the more spool pins. Also, as you guys can see, the more spool pins, the easier it actually becomes, as each one of these is now an indicator as to which order to pick your lock. So it's always best to only use 1 or 2 spool pins. That is what they always recommend. Any more than 2 is just excessive, and it starts to jump into the liability factor. So I would basically caution you to only use 1 or 2. And, if you guys are worried about bump keys, you don't want to use spool pins, you'd want to use T-pins. So we'll get into those later, but I just wanted to show you guys this, as this was a big question from that video. So I hope you guys learned something from this. If you guys did, feel free to subscribe if you're new, if you'd like to learn more about locksmithing and lock picking. As always, I hope you guys are staying safe, and I hope you guys have a nice day.